Okay, so this is going to be round one of the Mox qualifier. We're playing against Achilles. Achilles before this tournament was highly likely to play a bug deck, but I know from their Twitter that they've been not happy with bug and decided to switch to Jeskai. So I do know that before this game, my opponent is going to be playing Jeskai Arcanist. Let's go. All right, so Jeskai Arcanist, and this is my starting hand. This hand, I think, is a trap. I wouldn't keep this hand against pretty much anyone. The Helms are basically dead draws, as we don't. Although we could play a ley line, it costs so much mana. And the Mirage Mirror is not great. It doesn't have a sphere to copy. There's no Dark Depths. We don't have a Golos, so not happy there. And because we don't only have one Thespian stage, we're basically one part of every combo. And I don't keep those hands. I know that I think 2-card Monty players like to keep this kind of hand. I don't keep these kind of hands. I would the London Mulligan. Let me talk about the London Mulligan real quick. The London Mulligan is completely broken. And it gives you huge opportunities to find workable hands down at 6 and 5 cards. So you should be using your London Mulligan. Here, I just snap them all this. All right, and then we get this hand, which is much, much better. All right, so this hand has the ley line, but no helm. But I don't think that's an issue because I do think that ley line is good versus Jeskai. Ley line is great versus Dredge. Versus Breach. Ley line is okay versus Jeskai. The biggest problem with this hand is I'm going to lock myself under the sphere. It doesn't have a lot of mana, but I think it's powerful enough hand that I would keep. As a newer vintage player, yeah, mulliganing is super important, especially when your cards are this high power level, and especially when London Mulligan lets you do really broken things. So I think I keep this hand. Pretty sure I keep this hand, though I could see myself mulliganing this hand. But it looks like I'm going to keep it. And I'm going to bottom... What did I just bottom? I just bottom the sphere. Yeah, I bottom the sphere. And the reason I bottom the sphere is because I'm looking to Chalice on 1 to start. Chalice on 1 is one of the most prohibitory plays you can play against Jeskai. And I definitely want to keep my Leyline versus Jeskai over Sphere. Sphere is only okay versus Jeskai. As soon as they hit a couple mana sources, they have many ways for it to be really bad. And I needed to keep all my mana sources so that I have a likely chance of playing Golos. All right. So opponent starts with Ruby Lotus Pass, which is kind of wild. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So this is obviously an insane draw for us. We can turn 2, make a 20/20, and every time you play against an opponent's deck, you need to look and see how they interact with 20/20. A lot of decks in the format only interact via the artifact, the mirror, or the land via Wasteland, or the creature via Teferi and Source to Plowshares. So because I know my opponent is on Jeskai, I know my opponent is on 2 Swords to Plowshares, no Wastelands, so that means the best time for me to activate Mirage Mirror is on their end step. This plays around Teferi. It plays around all kinds of interaction in the best possible ways. So here, I probably lead Mana Crypt into Chalice on 1. But I could see myself also just going Orborg, Mana Crypt, Mirage Mirror, and so I can make a 20/20 on turn 2. And I'm not sure which one I do. I think both plays have pretty good merit. I think that if I do go for Mirage Mirror, then I likely go Mana Crypt, Chalice of the Void on 0, even though opponents already used all their 0s. But we'll have to see what I do. So I don't know why I played the Orborg first. I would rather have played the Mana Crypt first. So I'm just gonna slam Mirage. So slam Chalice. I'm basically using this Chalice as bait because the Mirage Mirror is the most important card in my hand. I don't think this Chalice is super good. If I play Chalice on 1, I think it's super good and it probably gets a force. But I also don't get to make a 20/20 on turn 2. And I do think that making a 20/20 on turn 2, it should be my goal here. And the reason is you don't want to give your Jeskai opponent time to find the Swords to Plowshares. In game 1, they only have 2 Swords to Plowshares. You don't want to give them time to like preordain and try to find it. So I like being very forceful in my and how I approach making a 2020. And the nice part about Mirage Mirror is if you hold the Dark Depths, it doesn't look very good, right? This card technically doesn't do anything right now. So it's very hard for them to want to like force of will a Mirage Mirror. And if they don't force of will the Mirage Mirror, it's not like they can counter the Dark Depths, right? So Lavinia, typically a very good card versus us. But they top deck this island because they didn't have an island before. So it's very unlikely that they'll have a white source next turn. So this 2020 should just be good enough. So they top decked another land, but it's not a white source. So now they have to draw cards until they find a Pearl and a Swords to Plowshares, which is just not going to happen. And then I'm just going to... I don't care about 2 damage. I don't care about killing Lavinia. All I care about is making sure there's no way that they can interact with my 2020. So I just end step, make a 2020. And the game ends. All right. Game 2. That's true. Chalice is on 0. They couldn't even draw Pearl. So they were basically locked there. So I guess theoretically I could block there then. But yeah, it doesn't really matter. When opponent doesn't have a land drop on turn 1, it does open me up to do aggressive things. So here, I have a Helm and the mana to use it. I have a Mirror and the mana to use it. And I have a Spyglass. I guess we should go over how I boarded first. Can I open that up on another page? Try to figure out how the best way to do this is. I guess I should just open a picture of the deck up and then just talk through the board plan. Okay, so we're playing against Jeskai. The cards that I like the least are Tabernacle, Sorcerer's Spyglass. The cards that I like the most from the sideboard are Bajuka Bog and Grafdigger's Cage. So what I think I probably did is I probably took out the Tabernacle and I took out like 2 Spyglasses or something. Or I just took out no Spyglasses because Cage isn't great against Jeskai. Cage is like a bit better against Breach. So it could just be a straight swap between Tabernacle and Bajuka Bog. I don't think I would have done anything else. I like keeping Spyglasses in more against Jeskai than against Breach because Jeskai has multiple Dak Faden and you do want to be able to name Dak Faden. Whereas against Breach, they might have 1 Dak Faden, so it's more important that you have something like Cage. I think it's likely I just took Tabernacle out for Bajuka Bog, but who knows? Who knows? I don't think I can see that unless I do this. Oh, I can. I can tell you exactly what we did. Yeah, I did exactly that. Perfect. Aha. I didn't think I could do that. All right, yeah, so I did exactly what I said I did, which is always nice. All right, so I don't think I keep this hand. I don't think Spyglass is super good, and then I don't like keeping these hands that rely on other combo pieces. We can't even play the ley line, so this combo piece is like pretty dead. So this hand just gets shipped. This hand is much better, obviously. You have a lot of options with this hand. You have you're really looking to draw a 2-drop, like a Thorn or a Sphere, so that I can go. Thorn is obviously the best, but I can go like Lodestone into Sphere or something like that. I would say that I probably put back the Orborg by putting back the Orborg. Well, I might just put back the Helm, actually, because the Helm doesn't do anything. Even though I have the ability to play a ley line pretty far off, I would rather just keep my power mana and all my mana sources. So I probably just put the Helm back. No, I did put back the stage. Why did I put back the stage? So I get to keep the Helm. Oh, okay, I see why I do that. So I get to keep the Helm and I have the Orborg, so I can draw. So this makes my ley lines top decks are valid. And I already have a Mirage Mirror, so I don't really need a stage to go stage depths because I already have a Mirage Mirror. So that's the reason that you put back a stage there. I could see putting back some other cards, but that's reasonable. Preordain. All right, I drew a Sorcerer's Spyglass, which is fantastic. The question ends up becoming, did I lead Sorcerer's Spyglass or did I lead Lodestone Golem? Probably led Lodestone Golem, to be perfectly honest, but maybe I led Spyglass. Let's see. All right, I led Spyglass, and this is a really sad thing to see from my side. So I lead Spyglass, and I see Needle, which is quite good against us. It's probably one of the best cards against us. I don't actually have a way to remove a Needle in my deck. I've been thinking about, should I put ways to remove Needle in my deck? And I think the answer is no. I think the answer is just live with it and try to battle through it. There aren't very many ways when you're in colorless and black to remove Needle. You can get creative, but I think that it gets too tricky. So Needle and Swords are obviously both insane versus us. The rest of the hand is pretty mediocre. I would assume that this Spyglass, I'm going to name Dak Vaden. Other things you could name are Scalding Tarn or Flooded Strand or something, but this probably just names Dak Vaden. Can't use that button. And then although I know that my opponent has Swords to Plowshares, I think it's still correct to play Lodestone Golem. And the reason I want to play Lodestone Golem and force them to use their Swords to Plowshares is because if I don't do that, they get to just jam a Dreadhorde Arcanist, and I think that's like way, way worse for our tempo plan. So I don't want to let them just slam a Dreadhorde here. So although we lose the ability to like Mirage Mirror copy our Lodestone, at least it time walks our opponent. And is that good? No, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. I'm basically on the like let's hit the top deck plan. And that's a good draw. It's not a great draw because opponent does have a bunch of mana and we don't have any wastelands, but it is fairly reasonable here. So I'm going to attack, force them to use their Swords to Plowshare just in case they drew something like, I guess it doesn't matter. I'm just going to force them to use their Swords to Plowshares. They would just Swords in response to Sphere anyway, so like doesn't really matter. It's just kind of attack first. So here we go 2 and we go Trinisphere, and now opponent's not going to be able to play a spell on the next turn, which is nice because their only land in hand is Mystic Sanctuary, which is going to come into play tapped. All right, so the Mystic Sanctuary comes down. We're just looking at top decks here. We just need to find combo pieces. If we find a Golos, if we find a Dark Depths, if we find a Leyline of the Void, all of these things are obviously incredibly good. Obviously we miss on that. I would assume I just deploy a Mirage Mirror so that I have a backup Trinisphere. Now the Trinisphere is I deploy the Helm so that I can use the Helm before they play a Pithing Needle. And maybe that's greedy. It's possible that's greedy, but what that does is another, like, it almost time walks our opponent again, right? So now opponent, like, instead of playing a Dreadhorde Arcanist off using the Trinisphere mana, they're forced to play Pithing Needle on Helm of Obedience. There's almost no chance I'm ever going to play Leyline, Helm, and activate on the same turn. So I think it's better to just get this Helm needled and then focus on your land-based combos. And so what I did is I just played this and I'm going to activate it and see if I can't hit like a Lavinia or a Mentor or a Dreadhorde Arcanist with my Helm of Obedience. So here comes the Needle. I'm going to Helm them. I didn't hit, which is unfortunate, obviously. It does give them additional fuel for Dreadhorde, but with the Trinisphere in play, I don't really care about giving them additional fuel for Dreadhorde. If it comes to the point where they've removed the Trinisphere, I've probably already lost the game anyways. So, yeah. So basically, I'm on any Golos, any Dark Depths, and that's kind of the whole game plan from here. It's not a good game plan. It's not where you want to be, but it is what it is. So I made a second Trinisphere here. Probably not necessary. Because... Alright, so the upside to this is, if they have a Shattering Spree, they currently don't have double red. So that means they can only kill one Trinisphere. They'll still be locked under Trinisphere after they cast Shattering Spree. The downside is if they drew a red and have a Shattering Spree, they can kill both Trinispheres, and I don't like that very much. You'll see, I think, later in this game, I decide to just not activate... the exact thing happens. I would just not activate... maybe it's a different match. I don't remember. There was a time where I would not activate my mirror, because the thing about mirror is it's not like Thespian Stage. Once you copy something for a turn, you don't get to choose something else to copy. I guess Thespian Stage, you're tapping it, so you don't really get to choose something else to copy either. But you'll see, I don't remember which game it is, but I like personally don't activate my mirror targeting my sphere so that I can't get them both Shattering Spreed. If they were to Shattering Spree my mirror, I could copy like a land and then blank the Shattering Spree. So opponent did have a Shattering Spree and only one red source, so the Trinisphere is dealt with. I top deck a very good one, actually. I top deck a Sphere of Resistance, which actually is top decking 2 Spheres of Resistance, because I have a Mirage Mirror already in play. So here I get to actually basically redeploy my Trinisphere, but better. And then things get bad. I draw Wasteland, which is a fine draw. Definitely going to keep my opponent locked out of like Shattering Sprees and that kind of thing. But I also get to hit their red source, so they can't hit Dreadhorde Arcanist. So they did brainstorm themselves here. They could have, locked themselves out. Definitely possible when you hit Brainstorm, but no, they did find a red source off their Brainstorm and immediately slammed the Dreadhorde Arcanist, which is a huge problem for me, because they have a Shattering Spree. And the way Dreadhorde works with Shattering Spree is you can pay Replicate on it. So my opponent would just have to pay for the sphere costs and then play the 1 replicate cost to kill 2 artifacts. So you'll see on this upkeep, normally I would Mirage Mirror the sphere so they had 2 spheres in play. However, now I don't think I Mirage Mirror the sphere because I don't want it to get Shattering Spreed. By holding up Mirage Mirror's ability to be able to turn it into a land or a creature, I can dodge Shattering Spree. They also top deck Ancestral here, which is not good for the home team. Oh, I don't think anything else interesting happens in this game, so I'm just going to kind of speed through here. This is this is cool. This is cool. So they cast Ancestral, right? And then they targeted Ancestral with their Dreadhorde Arcanist, and they don't have a 3rd land in play, and now they can't target Shattering Spree. So with this trigger on the stack, I Mirage Mirror my sphere, and then they can't replay Ancestral. I thought that was pretty cool. That one's kind of sweet. I like that one. All right, so there was something that interesting happened. That was a cool play. This is when I just woke up, huh? It only gets worse from here. And then they have to discard to hand size. Because they cast Ancestral. Wait, no, they still cast Ancestral. Sorry. It taps them out of mana, is what it is. Because the Shattering... Sorry, I misspoke there. The Shattering Spree... Tapping to a Sphere Resistance doesn't stop them from playing Ancestral, but it does make them pay 2. And then my thing can't get killed by Shattering Spree, so... That was the idea behind it anyways. All right, now we'll move on. I drew more lands and more mana. Now I get Shattering Spree. And so they're going to hit the Sorcerer's Spyglass and the Sphere Resistance because they can't hit the mirror because I could mirror a land. I'm just going to like speed forward through this. Once they targeted not my magic mirror, then I copied the sphere after that. But yeah, so now opponent has 7 cards in hand, and I have top deck mana sources for like 6 turns. And then I concede at some point here. I might have just not conceded at any point because I'm playing against Jeskai, and Jeskai takes ages to win. Let's just speed it. Oh, I made one last-ditch effort to stop the spells from resolving in the yard by trying to copy a Lavinia. They just had a Source Supply Shears at that point. So I really didn't have any outs anyways. So then we just play through this game, and then opponent kills me with Mentors. Okay. Game 3. Game 3. So on the play, Game 3 versus Jeskai, round 1. I've got this hand. This hand has Sphere, Wasteland, Mirror, and some Helms. Like I said previously, I don't like these kind of hands, especially hands with multiple Helms that don't have ley lines. I would just ship this back every time. Unless you like think that you're in a matchup where Sphere Wasteland is like king. Like PO, possibly you could keep this hand based on Sphere. The problem is if your spear gets countered, you don't have double spear, so I don't like it very much. I mulligan into this hand, which is a spicy one. This hand has a turn 3 2020 by Mishra's Orbarg Ruby Golos for a Thespian Stage 2020. Pretty sure I keep this hand and then just bottom this helm. Turn 1, I get to Spyglass, whatever I find the most useful, and go for the turn 3 2020. In these matchups, I was definitely mulliganing in hopes of finding ley lines. Not as much in this one compared to Breach, but always keeping in mind that a hand that has ley line against these decks is much better than one that doesn't. So here things get a little silly. And opponent has Swords, Needle, Flooded Strand, and Lotus. So here I'm going to name the Flooded Strand to pinch them on white. But I know it's going to be a little tricky to come through this game. Oh, bad. I'm sneezing today. And then I should have played this Ruby to play around Lavinia off of Lotus Sapphire, and I didn't, so that's a misplay. I was like playing. I mean, if you play around Lavinia, then you play into Dak Faden and Shattering Spree. So maybe it's not a misplay. Maybe it's just you got to choose which one to play around. They have none of them, so I chose to play around Dak Faden Shattering Spree, which is probably a higher percentage of their deck than Lavinia anyway, so it's probably correct. All right, so here they drew a Preordain off the top, slammed this, and a Needle, I assume, and the Needle named Mirage Mirror, and this was really good for me because opponent played a Needle early. I actually have some leeway here, right? Like if they hold their Needle, and then they just name. Hard to hold your Needle, but if this turn I go Golos Thespian Stage, you know that I have a Dark Depths, right? So then you could just name Needle Dark Depths. Or sorry, name Needle Thespian Stage. And now that doesn't exactly work, right? Because over the next turn, I can Thespian Stage a different land, and then use the as a different. Well, it does actually work because I can just name Thespian Stage because it came out tapped. But yeah, I don't know. I think this is like a very hasty Needle, and I think it's probably a misplay from the opponent. You do have to be careful of me going like, I don't know, Dark Depths, Mirage Mirror, Mana Crypt, Activate or something. But yeah, it's a little awkward. So what do we do? Here North Thorn. I don't think we play a Thorn though. I'm pretty sure I just slam Golos because that's the best use of my mana. I mean, the Thorn doesn't really constrict them right now. So here, I just grabbed Thespian Stage. Oh, they just had Force of Will. Right. Yes, I forgot. their Preordain that they top deck drew them into, they topped and drew Force of Will off of it. So. All right, no Golos for Justin. How do I win this game? How do I possibly win this game? I guess they're on top decks as well, because they just have a Swords to Plowshares and a Flooded Strand. Oh, they drew a Dreadhorde. How do I win this game? I'm so surprised. How do I win this game? I drew it late. Yeah, I don't know. Let's find out together, chat, because I have no idea. So I deploy the Thorn. I know that doesn't get countered. I deploy the Dark Depths, I assume, and then I forget to take off a counter on it. Yeah. I should have taken off a counter on this Dark Depths, but I know I forget to. At the very least, this Thorn makes the Preordain cost 1. I'm pretty sure this Preordain tops as well. Yeah, that Preordain topped. How do I win this game? Second Dreadhorde Arcanist. So we know they have a Swords to Plowshares and an Unknown in hand. I'm very confused on how I win this game. That's what happens. Yeah. So I drew a Lodestone Golem, and then I bait their Swords to Plowshares with Lodestone Golem, and then I immediately top deck away to make a 2020. Good clean living. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, so opponent uses their swords on my lodestone so they can attack with their small little duders, and I'm pretty sure we just immediately draw Thespian stage. Oh, stop, slow. How do I slow it down? Chat, how do I stop it? Okay, I think we stopped it. I drew ley line, which is not bad because it means that I turned off future preordains. Not terrible, not terrible. And then, then I draw Thespian stage. Wow. Fairly lucky, fairly lucky. I think again, kind of seems like a misplay from my opponent's perspective. They don't need to remove the lodestone golem. And they have so many other ways to deal with a lodestone golem besides the swords to plowshares, right? Like they could just draw a shattering spree the lodestone golem, draw a Dak Faden, steal the obviously Dak Faden is a little hard to cast because there'd be 2 thorn attacks in play, but I just think from the opponent's perspective, they really are only losing to a 2020, so they really should just not use their swords to plowshares. So I don't think we should win this game. But opponent, got baited by the lodestone golem a little bit, so that's just how it went. So here's a cool, cute little play. They know they're gonna die to a 2020, so they swords to plowshares off of their Dreadhorde Arcanist on their Lavinia. So that they can go to 21 life, which is a cute play. It gives them a draw step to draw another swords to plowshares, which I think is cool. I just know I'm going to need to make a 2020 anyways. I know that this can't fetch for a swords, so I'm going to eat one of the Dreadhorde Arcanists while I can. Attack, put them to 1. And then they have to top deck a swords to plowshares. If they do, then this game continues. If they don't, the game ends. They do not, the game ends. But yeah, that was actually a really interesting match. Couple really cool plays that happened, and overall played okay. Played pretty decent with the mirrors and stuff. So yeah, 1-0. I didn't really stop and look at chat during that. What'd chat say? Hand is borderline.